So, ladies and gents, I hope you remember we tried to survive on this semester the trajectory of formation of world economy system. We started the definition of basic concept concerning evolution of world economy system. Secondly, we try to describe with help of case studies the formation of leading cities, leading area, core area. The first one was a medieval European economy. A medieval European economy with two poles, a northern pole and the southern pole. And between the poles had a meeting point, the Fair of Champagne-Brie. This was the first chapter. The second chapter, the great crisis of 14th century, with the Black Death period, which started to the direction of modernization, a European economy. And the first real leading city was Venice, and core area, the northern part of Italy. The second chapter, Antwerp, in consequence of geographical discoveries, mainly on the Indian Ocean, and Antwerp became a meeting point between Portuguese and between German traders. This is the second leading city. The third leading city was Genoa, who organized financing of development of world economy system, mainly on the Atlantic Ocean, between the New World and between the Old World, Europe, and connected the Africa to this triangle. And the last chapter was Amsterdam. Amsterdam, who organized very efficiently trade of Indian Ocean, but wasn't able to organize a real trading empire in American continent because so low the density of population, which not able to for the Phoenician model, which tried to checking and controlling only the crossroads of the trading network. And the last chapter, the national market, formation of national market, and last lecture I tried to describe which spatial ladder had before Industrial Revolution, and we arrived two candidates to the leading area position. The first one was France, the first national state, and we realized France wasn't able to be a core area and the leading country of the forming world economy system. Why? Too large area, too large country. This was a country of Russia in the 19th century, in the 18th century, too large for efficient direction on the technology level of the late early modern time. Secondly, had two capitals, a political capital, Paris, and the economic capital, Lyon. It was a very dark shadow. Why? Because the economic capital, Lyon, connected to the Mediterranean economy. And the Mediterranean economy was in decline and oriented French economy to the great fail, great decline of Mediterranean area. Therefore, moreover, had a rivalry between political capital and economic capital. And look at the other candidate who won the throne, the position of leading city in 18th and 19th century. This is England. This was almost the last slide in the last lecture. England, much better position started in 18th century compared with France. The first one, first indicator of better position of England, a geographical position. If we are looking at two islands, Irish Island and the main island, the size whole of the British Isle much smaller, less than half of spatial dimension of France, only 245,000 square kilometers. It's comparable with the medieval Hungary. Moreover, a size of England only 130 square kilometers. It's quite moderate area which much easier to direct controlling and checking and organizing compared with France. The second one, shield of England. This is La Manche, the channel which separated to the continental connection the English kingdom. It's saved mainly from the military campaign and invasion inhabitant of England. And Pennine Mountain. If we are looking in the central and northern part of England and Scotland had mountain area, but very peaceful mountain area, not so high, the highest position a little bit higher than 1,000 meters. It's quite a moderate landscape. If we are looking the landscape, it's the first impression, it's not comparable with alpine area or high mountain area. It's a moderate. Okay, the main question of us, how became Ireland? Not only geographical sense, England, but a political sense. Why crucial question? Because if we are looking at medieval England, a medieval English kingdom, a lot of connection had and connected to the continental area. If we are looking, for example, dynasty, the first important dynasty, William the Conqueror, came from Normandy. Other generation of dynasty of England came from southern part of France. Therefore, if we are looking England in the Middle Ages, not a separated country from the continental area, continental feudal network. Not by chance, English dynasties connected very closely to the continental interests and continental political and military connection, and participated regularly in the war of the continental area. But the last great connection was 100 Years' War. 100 Years' War, it started for the crown of French kingdom, and the ownership to the southern part of France. Because very important to mention, in the last week I spoke about that regional differences in France was unbelievable huge. For example, from southern part of Loire River Loire, nobody spoke French language. It's basically different. New Latin, other version of New Latin language family spoke, Oc or Provençal, and this area, according to feudal network, feudal hierarchy, connected much closer to London than Paris. Therefore, it was an open question. But England lost 100 Years' War and lost each of their connection to the continental area and left alone to the island country. This was the last headquarter in the continental area, Calais. This is a harbor on the northern part of France, lost in the middle of 16th century. And Fernand Braudel wrote about this history, closing of 100 Years' War. England, active provinces or group of provinces within the Anglo-French unit, which was in its entirety. Therefore, no separation, no real separation. And one of the most important connections, not only Europe, it's a universal community of Christendom, was a Roman Catholic Church. Therefore, the last connection which cut very harshly English kingdom was English Reformation. You know the story, I suppose. This was the problem of divorce. Originally, Henry VIII had a brother, older brother, Arthur. Officially, Arthur should to be the king, but for a very unknown sickness, died. And original target of life of Henry VIII was a bishop or archbishop in the Roman Catholic Church. But when elder brother died, changed the direction. Not by chance, relation with the women not so peaceful, or not so temperate. Two of his wife is executed to death. You know, the Anna Boleyn, and I don't know who was the Kathleen Howard, two of his wife, sentenced to death. But after the declaration of English Reformation, no any continental connection. Moreover, the Pope and the leader of English church became the King of England. And very interesting, it's quite similar to the Orthodox, to the Eastern Christendom, because the emperor not only a political leader, but head of Eastern Christian Church, Christendom. A little bit very interesting, reactivated an older model before the appearance of Roman Catholic Church, and the final conclusion, no any continental connection. After the English Reformation, England and the English elite followed its interest, whole of its interest, and no any influence to the deeds and decisions. Okay, Channel became a shield, a floating bulwark from the direction of continent. Time by time, tried to organize some kind of invasion. For example, in the 16th century, invincible fleet of Spanish army tried to organize an invasion, but a great storm, a polar storm, destroyed partly English fleet, but mainly polar, it's a northern storm, destroyed this try of invasion. A little bit later, for example, on the time of Napoleonic Wars, organized a plan of invasion, and the last try and plan of invasion organized on the time of Second World War. But finally, only the first try, the first plan functioned and applied with success. This was the invasion of William the Conqueror in the 11th century. Okay, look at the consequences of losing of continental connection. Each of attention turned inside. Therefore, no chance for conquering a continental state, continental area. Therefore, attention and the investment turned inside for improvement of lands, improvement of marshland, and the very bad condition of arable land. The second one, reclamation, forest, marshland area, and the heath. Moreover, try to taking under control the Celtic area of British Isles. For example, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. Formation of national market, the story a little bit I will return, and entering world trade and colonial empire building. Why? Because position of British Isles ideal for colonial empire building. Why? Because on the entrance, each of maritime trading route toward New World, toward Africa. It's ideal position. And very important, formation of national identity. The bombarded fort psychosis. Because the English people thought a lot about the possibility of invasion of continental powers, French or Spanish. Therefore, bombarded fort psychosis reinforced the identity. We are English. We are Reformed people, Reformed church followers. And formation of English identity was one of the quickest whole of the European history. Okay. For example, some cited text from the 16th and 17th century. English hate us, wrote a French politician, ambassador of French live in London. English hate us, and with a hatred so strong and so widespread that one of the tempted to number it among natural disposition of the people. It's wrote Ambassador Extraordinary Henry IV at the beginning of 17th century. And for example, formation of enemies, it's helped a lot for formation and support formation of community, sense of community. Look at other one. English consider their own pretension as right and the right of their neighbors as usurpation. A French traveler from the middle of 18th century. Therefore, formation of English identity, it's the speed of formation increased and became quicker in the early modern time. So, consequences. Italian merchant who participated in the trade of England, it's expelled from England at the end of 16th century. Hanseatic merchant, its area of Baltic region, it's similar. It's pushed up on the second half of 16th century. Against Antwerp, founded a royal exchange. And against Spain, stock companies. For example, a very famous and perform a great trajectory, English East India Company, which organized trade of Indian Ocean, mainly in the 18th and the 19th century. And against Holland and the United Provinces Navigation Act. Therefore, mentality of Englishmen, it's very ambitious and very hostile against the neighbors. It's mean Dutch, Spaniards, and the French people. Okay, the first milestone of formation of English trading empire was introduction of new currency. Like in the early modern time, a lot of countries it was a great crisis. It's a great crisis whole of Europe, including Hungary, including the continental area. But in this condition appeared a new events. New events mean financial events are inflation. You know the story of inflation, the real value of coins, real value of money decrease. Which is the solution for the inflation? For example, the simplest version, it's a changing of currency. It's happened in the middle of 16th century on the ruling years of Elizabeth I, and financing minister was Thomas Gresham. Introduced a new currency. A new currency named pound sterling. Pound sterling. Which using even now. If we are looking at history of value of different European currency, we can see here a line of value, of pound sterling. It's a line. Save the value for more than 4 centuries. Not by chance, when introduced a euro on the frame of European Union, no any argument on the side of introduction of euro in England. Why? Had an excellent currency which introduced in the 16th century, even in the 16th century. This was the first milestone. And a very steady value of pound sterling was indicator and cause of good health of English economy. Good. If we are looking at change of population of England and the most important Celtic rivals, Scotland and Ireland, we can follow that the very dynamic increase of England and Wales, it was the same unit because conquered even in the 12th century of Wales. To the beginning of 18th century, English and Welsh population reached a 6 million. 6 million. You remember, on the time, population of Dutch Republic, only 2 million. It's a tribe. The second one, the second crucial information, population which lived in London was 500,000. It's a voter had on the empire. If we are following Scotland, it's a very low density of population. Even at the beginning of 19th century was under 2 million. But population of Ireland, it's increased, growth quite dynamic manner. Okay, this is the population background. If we are looking diagram about it, demonstrate well, only the Irish population keep a pace with English growth. Okay, look at the population of London. Population of London, it's unbelievable high dynamism produced. And if we are looking in the middle of 19th century, population of London reached almost 2.3 million. Why so important? Because London was first city in Europe after decline of Roman Empire, which reached the same urbanization level that produced Rome. Necessary almost 1,700 years. But it's good demonstration. If we are looking at the history, it's not a linear growth. It's a great danger. We are living a modern time, a modern world, and our mentality, our thinking, it's quite sensible to see the world. It's a continuous growth. This is the area, this is the word of continuous. It's not true, not true. It up, down, much more. Because we are living a sustainable growth period, but it's a quite unique period of the history. Good. This is the trajectory of London, but London even at the turn of 17th and 18th century reached 500,000. It was beside Paris, other most highest population, whole of Europe. Okay, but if we are looking, somebody visited in London? London? Nobody. I suggest to everybody, there are some global cities. In Europe, recently there are only 2 global cities, Paris and London. Berlin, it's a border case, but Paris and London are a global city. Okay, look at after the comparison, the situation between Lyon and Paris, very interesting example of, do you want to write an example? No, okay. Very interesting to see a structure of London. There are a lot of districts, but the most important districts are 4 most important districts. The first one, Westminster. Westminster, this is the place, location and lodging of royal family and the parliament, a parliament. Therefore, if we are looking a function of Westminster district, this is the place of redistribution. Taxes and fees which necessary for the mechanization and the financing of state function based to redistribution. Therefore, if we are looking at the story in France, Paris was the place of redistribution. But in London, not only the redistribution located to London, but beside the redistribution and the political power, located the market and the city. This is the place of stock of exchange and the place of banks, the banking financial activities. Beside, on the neighborhood, reinforce one to other. And the third one, a port, a harbor. This is the largest capacity, whole of the ports of English Kingdom. And the last one, Southwark. A Southwark, this is the district of entertainment. This district located the Globe. You know the Globe? Globe, this is the theater of Shakespeare, William Shakespeare. But on that time, not only the Globe was in Southwark, but 17 other theaters. And very important peculiarity of the literature and the cultural history of England are street theaters. You know which is the street theater? For example, in the tourist season, you are walking on the street and some actor forming some play. It's maybe, for example, cirque play, maybe a theater play, and call attention on the people, mainly the tourists. There are a lot of free time, and very important to mention, the tradition of street theater started in the 16th century. But the best representatives of street theater is the Monty Python company. Probably you know the Monty Python. Life of Brian, for example, a movie made in the 70s, or for example, Eric the Vikings, a lot of movies. But basically, Monty Python came from street theater tradition from the 16th century. It's very important to, for example, saving the tradition in the society. Some weeks ago I visited in Amsterdam, and it was very impressive. I visited in the Rijksmuseum, in the famous museum of Amsterdam. And one picture I saw on the wall about some building. And left the theater, and two corners was the same building in the same condition. Unbelievable. Compare, for example, from history of Central Europe. And from Central Europe, this area of Central Europe, there is a quite general historical generalization. A bloody area. A bloody area. Why? Because if we are looking at the history of last 1,000 years, in Central European area, killed the most people. Therefore, very important to realize we are living a bloody area. Okay, but we are speaking about the formation of world economy. I don't want to launch a depression in consequence of lecture. Southwark is a cultural capital on the time of London. I spoke about the importance of English fleet. English fleet had 140,000 cubic kilometers ship capacity, and Bristol, the second one, it's very moderate, and all of the other important ports capacity of ship capacity, it's not equal from London. It's dominate any form of navigation. Moreover, if we are, sorry, you are over? Or you don't understand something? You are over. Okay, thanks a lot.
So
you can follow this free decision.
Do I need to sign up for the exam? I'm sure that it would be great.
Sorry. Okay, it's a free decision. You are over here, I understand. Okay, if somebody finalizes, take here on the seat. Take to me. Okay, if we are looking at landscape, I spoke about it's not a hilly mountain, it's a landscape area, it's a plain area, and there are a lot of navigable rivers. Therefore, before the network of railway network construction, able to communicate and able to organize the transport inside the country. And look at the unification of Britain. The first milestone is conquering of Wales. Wales conquered Edward I in the 12th century. And once local Welsh patriots tried to fight for independence on the time of 100 Years' Wars, but without success. Therefore, to the 16th century, Wales became the province of prince of the follower of the king, the prince of kingdom. And somebody know who are the position of the second one, the second son of king. The first prince of Wales, and recently it's Harry, Prince Harry, received which district, which province? York, Prince of York. This is the ladder of rank list. The first Wales, the second is a York, Prince of York. If some area conquered, like happened in Wales, necessary to find some common interest. And the local Welsh nobility found the common interest. London became the most important market of cattle drawing, cattle export. A little bit for Hungarian student, I tell it that same story. In the early modern time, Hungary became a food background of Central Europe, and the food, exported food, was a cattle. Why? Because no railway network, no navigable rivers. Therefore, somehow a solution the problem of food transport, agree with the food, it's a cattle, walking to the market area, Vienna, Prague, Nuremberg, or Venice. Therefore, the cattle drawing got a good solution, easy, traditional solution for food export. And integration to the British Empire for the Welsh nobility was common interest of cattle export. Look at the Scotland. If we are looking at the history of the Scotland, it's a very poor country. You remember the data, low density of population, and population of England, even at the beginning of 19th century, less than 2 million. Not by chance, integration to the British Empire was voluntary. The Scottish people asked the integration, its union with England, asked by Scottish nobility. Not possible to forget that Wales and the Welsh population and the Scottish population changed the languages. Recently, Wales and population of Wales and population of Scotland speaking English. It's happened, language change. Lost the Celtic language, and the same story happened even in Ireland. Somebody visited in Scotland? No? Dialect is, Scottish dialect, unbelievable. When I tried to buy a ticket at the Glasgow railway station, the first impression wasn't that we are not speaking the same languages, because it's so harsh, Scottish dialect. Okay, look at Ireland. I spoke about Ireland, yeah. Ireland was the most important victim of construction of British Empire. Why? Because English and Scottish colonial conqueror truncated the society. Which is the truncated society? A truncated society means a normal feudal society we can describe as a pyramid. King, nobility, citizenry, bourgeoisie, and the peasant, and the marginal social groups, for example, beggars, immigrants, so and so and so. This is the pyramid. But after the colonization, Ireland was the first colony of England. After the colonization, bourgeoisie and the Irish bourgeoisie and nobility, it's cut down. Therefore, left a truncated society. A truncated society with a very harsh social boundary. If somebody under this level were Irish, Roman Catholic, and spoke a Celtic language. Therefore, each of important social boundary separated two parts of society. Upper part of society, English or Scottish, spoke officially English and Protestant. Calvinist or Anglican Protestant. Therefore, no any form of solidarity between two parts of society. It's very hostile relation had even until the last decades. For example, you know which was the most important terrorist organization in North Ireland? Irish Republic Army, IRA. And even in the 1990s, for example, North Ireland looked like a war area. Each corner had a police or military station. But the compromise had only, I remember, 2006, but even though very fragile situation had. And which is the reason, which is the hostility, which is the reason of hostility? Because no any form of solidarity. The surplus of agrarian production exported and Irish peasantry lived in very harsh shortage. The most critical period of the shortage was a period of Irish potato famine. Somebody read or listened about the Irish potato famines? Nobody? Population, jump back, population of Ireland on the time had 8 million. If you follow the trajectory of Irish population, never reached again same high level of Irish population. Why? Because Irish population, whole of that, it's lived in the social position of peasant. Moreover, estate arable land is very small. Therefore, applied a potato, which imported from Americas, which carrying capacity 6 times higher than any form of cereals. Therefore, unfolded a monoculture. Each Irish peasant produced potato. But each kind of monoculture very sensible and very fragile. Why? Because in consequence of geographical discoveries, not only people and information and the fortune traveled one continent to other, but the epidemics after COVID-19, it's obviously for us. And Phytophthora infestans, a fungi infection, arrived to Europe from America in 1845. And which are the fungi? I suppose you know there are 3 kind of source of epidemics: bacterial, virus, and fungi. This kind of fungi arrive this infection, and which is the good condition for the fungi infection: hot and how the name is hot and wet condition. Hot and wet condition. And the following summer was hot and wet, with very high precipitation. And this was a triggering effect. You know, I spoke about the triggering effect. Everybody know which is the triggering effect? Something small operation happened, which launched a chain of interaction, and nobody able to stop the chain of interaction. And Phytophthora infestans was the triggering effect, and whole of harvest, potato harvest, it's destroyed. In the continental area, didn't create a hunger and a subsistence crisis, but in Ireland, where lived Irish peasant in the condition, in the frame of monoculture, no alternative staple foods. Therefore, launched a subsistence crisis. Almost 2 million people the following years disappeared. 1 million died, other 1 million emigrated. Emigrated, for example, to United States in the eastern part of east coast of United States. For example, Brooklyn is a famous part of Irish emigration, and very interesting form of emigration are Scotland. Scotland not only emigrated, huge number of Irish immigrant or emigrant, is depend on the point of view, but founded a very famous football club. Somebody know which is the football club of Irish immigrants? Celtic Rangers. And very interesting, because if some area arrived, the immigrants somehow try to organize themselves. And football club, it's somehow artificial space, demonstrate and organize the community of Irish people. Not by chance, I don't want to speak too much about the football, but my other life, dark life, is a football. Recently I am playing its 5 football team, one in Serbia and other 4 in Hungary. Okay, but I'm interested for, I'm quite a, how the name is, quite a close the scope of my interest. I'm interested for 4 things. One football, other one the scientific research. Okay, only 4. Stubbornness is a great advantage in the scientific life. But turn back to the story. In the Scottish Premiership, there are only 2 dominant football teams: Glasgow Rangers, the Protestant team, and Celtic Rangers, the Catholic one. And very interesting, if any other football championship we are looking, the same structure we can identify. Barcelona, this is the army of Catalonia. Real Bilbao, Athletic Bilbao, it's an army of Basque identity. And very interesting the story in the Hungarian championship. In the Hungarian championship, 2 football clubs won the most first position. The first one, Ferencváros, it's between the 2 world wars, it was a bilingual district of Budapest, German and Hungarian. It's representative of German minorities. In which is the other one? MTK, it's we can translate it's Hungarian athletic club, founded by Jewish. And very interesting, if we are looking the Hungarian championship, dominate 2 ambitious minorities, German and Jews. And very interesting because sociologists analyzed which player played in the German and the Jews football team, which social background had. And the more Jews played in the Ferencváros, the German one. Because in the player selection, the skills the most important. Okay, it's close to the story. In consequence, the crisis emigrated or died. 2 million Irish people, anyway, disappeared from Ireland. Okay, typhus. Good. And in consequence of reinforcing position, take on the seat. Reinforcing position of London and the Royal English Kingdom tried to organize the spatial European network, stock of exchange, and Bank of England. You can see, you can identify on the map the network of these institutions. And the final slide today demonstrate how changed the national debt in England in this critical period. The problem of the debt is quite general. Anyway, in Hungary, not educated people, economic science, thinking about the debt is a bad thing. If somebody increases the debt, it's a bad thing. It's increased the fragility, increased the dependence from financial reason. But if we are looking at the history and the story of English state, the picture and the meaning basically differ. Look at the end of 18th century, the national debt, it's approximately 40 million pounds sterling. But
1 century later, the debt, the national debt, is yet 523 million
pound sterling.
and the interest of that at the end of 17th century on a little bit more than 1 million. At the beginning of 19th century, almost
20 million. If we are looking to the not the scientific but its everyday approach, increase the dependence of national state of England. But it's not true. It's not true. Because the basic problem and the basic question, how using the debt? How use the debt on the state investment? And the answer and the solution of this problem are English state reinvested the national income. Reinvested. It's a quite unbelievable, great innovation. Why? Because each of government able to produce a surplus. You can look at, for example, the pyramids in Egypt. It's constructed from surplus, national income. But the crucial question, how we are using the surplus. And it was a great innovation. Great innovation. Reinvested, not used luxury consumption, not burned in military campaign. Reinvested and recalculated the story of industrial revolution and the triggering effect onto the direction of industrial revolution was that in England for half century reinvested at least 10% of national income to the economy. Back. And started one process which somebody fly with plane. You know what mean the special aeronautics term of takeoff. Takeoff, you know. Takeoff mean the instant when wheels of plane left the connection with the soil. This is the takeoff. And for half century, reinvested at least 10 or more % of national income, and the plane or English economy launched and left the connection with the soil. And started one new process which never know before. It's mean a self-sustainable growth. But this is another story. Other lecturer will speak about the story of self-sustainable growth. We close the introduction and I hope you enjoy. I enjoyed anyway. Moreover, I receive salary for that. Okay, thanks a lot for your attention and good luck for exam.